Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to talk about comparative adjectives and how we change the form of an adjective when we're comparing different things. I'll also go over some exceptions to this rule because, as you know, this is English and we love to make things confusing. Comparative adjectives help us to show the difference between two things. So, for example, an apple is smaller than a watermelon, Katie is happier than Mike. We're comparing two things in these statements. So the adjective small and happy change to smaller and happier. In these examples, we don't say that the apple is more small or that Katie is more happy. This is sometimes confusing to non-native speakers because in other languages, such as French or Italian, they would say more small or more happy, plus petit or più piccolo. So let's start with the irregular forms, the irregular adjectives. So most adjectives, like small and happy, follow a set of rules when they change, but irregular adjectives don't follow a rule. The entire word changes. So for example, when something is more good, we say better. When something is more bad, we say worse. When something is more far away, we say farther. Now this is for literal physical distances. So for example, my house is farther away than yours. Or we can say further. Now further is more for figurative distances. So for example, Katie and Mike grew further apart in their relationship after the argument. And the comparative adjective for more little is less. And this is different to saying something is more small. With more little, we're talking about the amount of something, so we would say less. So, for example, there is less sugar in my coffee than yours. We would not say that I have a more little amount of sugar. Okay, so that's it for irregular adjectives. Now let's talk about regular adjectives, which follow a set of rules. Rule 1, short adjectives. So these are adjectives with one syllable. So for example, tall, fast, loud. Our voices are only making one beat when we say the words small, loud, fast. So it has one syllable. With these short adjectives, we simply add ER on the end. So for example, more loud is louder, more cheap, cheaper. So for example, this cafe is cheaper than that cafe. Rule 2, adjectives with two syllables. So for example, happy, simple, narrow. If the adjective ends in a Y, then we take away the Y and add IER. So for example, happy becomes happier, more busy, busier. If the adjective ends in LE, ER, or OW, then we simply add ER again. So for example, more gentle would be gentler, more clever, cleverer, more narrow, narrower. So for example, the roads in Greece are narrower than in America. And rule 3, all other adjectives, including those with two syllables that don't belong in the second rule, as well as other adjectives with more than two syllables. So in this rule, we don't change the adjective, we just use more before the adjective. So this gets a bit confusing because we're going against those first two rules. But to give you an example, the adjectives modern and polite, as you can see from their endings, they don't belong in rule 2, even though they have two syllables. So with modern and polite, we would say more modern, more polite. This city is more modern, that child is more polite. and as well for other adjectives with more than 2 syllables. So for example, expensive, interesting, my house is more expensive, this book is more interesting. Okay, so now let's talk about some exceptions and some tricky bits when it comes to comparative adjectives. Exception number 1. Some adjectives can follow more than just one of those 3 rules. So for example, with the adjectives clever and quiet, we can say more clever, cleverer, more quiet, quieter. Generally, the ER form is more common in spoken English. Exception number 2, if the adjective follows the ER rule, but it already ends in an E, then just add the R. So for example, large and nice already ends in E, but they follow the ER rule. We would not say larger and nicer with 2 E's, just 1 E and the R, larger, nicer. Exception number 3, double consonants. If a short adjective, which would follow the ER rule, ends in a consonant, vowel, consonant, then we double the last consonant and add ER. So for example, more big is bigger. It ends in a consonant, vowel, consonant, right? Big, B-I-G. So we double the last consonant, G, add ER, so bigger. This also works for hot. Hot is H-O-T, consonant, vowel, consonant. So double that last consonant, the T, so we have 2 T's and then ER. So I know that's a lot to take in and it can be quite difficult to learn. It's useful to practice comparative adjectives with simple grammatical exercises to practice which form of the adjective sounds the most natural, because like I said, in English, obviously to me this is normal, right? This is natural. But in other languages where you don't change the form, like French or Italian, they would say more nice, more big. It's difficult to learn these different forms. In my next video, I would like to talk about superlative adjectives, and this is when we talk about the most of something. So for example, the smallest, the most small, or the biggest, the most big. And good news, the rules are very similar to comparative adjectives, so it might help you to learn comparative and superlative at the same time. And again, if that's something that you would like help with in our lessons, I will be happy to go over that with you. So that's it for today's video. I hope you found it useful. Again, it's a lot, it can be tricky to learn, but practice makes perfect. I'll see you guys.